Hi everyone, Gently Touch Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it is time for a review of the new Kankyō Ongaku compilation, Japanese ambient, environmental, and new age music 1980 to 1990. This is a new compilation out via Light in the Attic Records, a mega varied label out of Seattle that has been releasing albums and singles and comps for years from across the music spectrum, and this latest compilation from them sees the catalog expanding into a very interesting direction, just as the title suggests, Japanese ambient music from 1980 to 1990. So why this review? Why Japan? Why this time period? Why this genre of music? Well, I could tell you that experimental composers from the East reacted pretty boldly to the inception of Ambient 1 and expanded on the ideas from that record, not only with new technologies, but also by embracing Japan's own rich history with freeform and meditative music. And hearing that history come together with new technology under this burgeoning wave of sonic art, it led to a pretty fertile first decade for this environmental music. Really what's brought me here is this compilation was recommended to me by a viewer, and I tried it, and it was flames. Ambient flames. While I don't review a whole lot of new age and ambient music on my channel, I do have somewhat of a hushed love for it. But I think I'm just kind of picky when it comes to the genre, generally. The mood has to be right and the sounds have to have character. And while stillness and repetition are not necessarily bad things, I don't want to feel trapped in someone's ocean of uninspired crap. In the past, the godfather of what's been commercially termed as ambient music has likened the style to furniture or background enhancement. And even if this style of music is meant to hang in the background, it's essentially wallpaper. But make no mistake, ambient music is, or at least should be, intended to have some kind of effect on the listener, even if it is a subtle or a subconscious one. Because background music can be inspiring if it influences your mental state in the right way. And I think that's what this very tight compilation of tracks achieves. There's nothing on the abridged digital version of this compilation that expands past 7 minutes. But despite the relative brevity of many of these pieces, they all pretty much come through with some very bold and memorable sound palettes. So bold, I think some of these pieces may actually hook in newbies to ambient music, or even listeners who might consider themselves to be a bit too impatient for this style of music. There are 10 different tracks on this thing from 10 different artists. They all flow together pretty nicely. Whether you're talking about more synthetic pieces on this thing like Glass Chattering from Yoshio Ojima, the track gives me the sensation of floating in an icy palace, and I'm just surrounded by all of these bright rays of light reflecting off frozen sheets of water. Then there are pieces on this thing that feature more live instrumentation, more organic instrumentation, like the song DREAMIN, which definitely lives up to its title. It is completely eargasmic. The song features this panoramic layout of all of these plucky metallic tones and what sounds like some chimey bells. And all of it's performed in this very loose and intimate and primal circle of pure bliss. Tradition meets the new age on this track with some of the ethereal and bright, gorgeous, drony synth tones swelling in the background behind all of this instrumentation. It's just a wonderful marriage of new and old, and sounds totally refreshing despite how old it is at this point. There are other pieces on this thing that are incredibly minimal and pensive, like the opening cut Still Space from Satoshi Ashikawa, which features these very polite and gentle synth notes popping and swelling at a very loose and a very slow pace. It's progressing so slowly and so loosely that you have to kind of relax and zone out and process it in real time, because there's no strong rhythm kind of packing the melodies and the chords into an easy to decipher pattern. The old school synth tones on this track are lovely, and as far as keyboard pieces on this thing go, it is only rivaled by Hiroshi Yoshimura's Blink, which has this wonderfully sad beauty to it. Even though the keys on this cut are very soft and very subtle, the emotional impact for me was devastating. Continuing on the minimal side of this album, there is the abridged version of Ishiura, which is this very open and spacious bell piece that at points seems to value silence more than sound. And it also does not take long for the compilation to literally start throwing ocean sounds at listeners. The song Variation 3, for an ambient piece, I wouldn't exactly call it pleasant. The constantly whooshing waves on this track have a subtly harsh quality to them, and as the song progresses, the synthesizers take on an almost dystopian feel. The constantly whooshing waves on this track are maybe a little harsh, and the song is also littered with these almost unpredictable shots of percussion and chimes, which prevents the atmosphere of the song from really relaxing or settling down. There's also these kind of distant and dark synth tones that have a strange chorus effect or a phaser effect on them. They sound like an old school conception of postmodern sound, almost like I'm listening to vaporwave sans internet culture. The water theme continues on the track Praying for Mother/Earth Volume 1, which gives listeners more of a babbling brook experience, set against synthesizers that get progressively more and more dystopian as they continue. In a way, it kind of reminds me of like a Tim Hecker song or a Boards of Canada track. The song See the Light is one of the few tracks on the abridged version of this compilation that has a truly drony quality to it. It's almost Vangelis-esque with its very hopeful and meandering lead synth melodies playing over these cycling tones that are very relaxing and almost like mind-numbing. Overall, this is a stunningly beautiful collection of old-school ambient music from an era and from a location that clearly has not gotten enough shine up until this point. I think there are maybe a few pieces here that aren't given full justice in their abridged versions. Meanwhile, the song Seiko 3, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, is probably the biggest cliffhanger of a song in ambient music compilation will ever hand me. It is just way too amazing to end at the point that it does, but what are you gonna do? I'm really impressed with this collection. It is amazing what Light in the Attic has dug up here, and I am feeling a decent to a strong 8 on this thing. Transition, have you given this compilation a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Kankyō Ongaku, forever.